Imagine this. You wake up on a Monday morning, you check your phone. There's a notification from your employer, not from your boss, not from HR, from an algorithm. It says your salary has been adjusted, not because you asked, not because you negotiated, but because a machine recalculated your value overnight. No meeting, no argument, no explanation longer than a sentence, just a number. And here's the uncomfortable part. This isn't science fiction. It's already happening, quietly, partially, and unevenly inside the global economy. The real question isn't if AI will influence your salary, it's how much power we're about to give it, and whether we'll even notice when that power becomes absolute. For most of human history, pay was personal. You worked for someone. They saw your face. They knew your name. Your wage was a human judgment, biased, unfair, emotional, sometimes generous, sometimes cruel. Then corporations grew. HR departments appeared. Pay bands, job titles, and salary ranges replaced gut feeling. But still, at the top of every decision, there was a person. Now that final human layer is being removed. Not dramatically, not loudly, but efficiently. Because AI doesn't get tired. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't feel awkward telling you you're worth less this year than last year. And companies love that. Let's talk about why this matters right now. We're at a strange moment in economic history. Productivity is rising. Technology is advancing faster than ever. But real wages, for many people, are flat or falling when adjusted for inflation. Something doesn't add up. For decades, the deal was simple. Work harder, gain skills, earn more. That deal is quietly being rewritten, not by politicians, not by unions, but by software. Here's how the system is forming, step by step. It starts with data. Every email you send, every task you complete, every project you touch, every minute you're active or inactive on a company system. Modern workplaces already track more than most employees realize. Now add AI. AI doesn't just track activity, it compares you to everyone else. Your output versus the team average, your speed versus global benchmarks, your cost versus alternatives, human and machine. Suddenly, your salary isn't based on effort. It's based on relative efficiency. And efficiency is a brutal metric. Here's the uncomfortable math. If an AI determines that you produce 20% more than average, but cost 30% more than average, you're not valuable. You're inefficient. In the AI's world, that's a problem to be solved. Not emotionally, logically, by lowering pay, reducing hours, or replacing you altogether. Now let's talk about negotiation. Humans negotiate emotionally. We factor in loyalty, tenure, effort, potential. AI negotiates statistically. It asks, how easily can this worker be replaced at the same or lower cost? That includes freelancers, remote workers, automation tools, AI systems that don't sleep, complain, or quit. If the answer is very easily, your negotiating power drops to near zero, not because you're bad at your job, but because the market, filtered through AI, decided you're abundant. This is where the irony kicks in. The same AI that boosts productivity is also used to justify lower pay. Look how efficient we are now, companies say. We can do more with less, but less increasingly means you. And here's the quiet shift most people miss. AI doesn't just decide how much you're paid, it decides whether you deserve a raise at all. In traditional systems, raises were tied to time. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. AI doesn't care about time. It cares about marginal value. If your output grows slower than the system's baseline improvement, you're falling behind, even if you're working harder than ever. That's a terrifying concept, because AI improves automatically. Humans don't. Now let's contrast this with the hype. You've heard the promise. AI will free humans from boring work. AI will create better jobs. AI will increase wages through productivity gains. That story isn't wrong. It's incomplete, because productivity gains don't automatically flow to workers. They flow to whoever controls the system. Historically, that hasn't been labor. Look at previous technological revolutions. The Industrial Revolution increased output massively. Workers didn't get rich. Factory owners did. Computers transformed offices. Did wages explode? No. Executive compensation did. AI follows the same pattern, but faster and more invisible. Here's where things get darker. Some companies are already experimenting with dynamic pay. Your compensation adjusts based on demand performance metrics, market conditions, internal benchmarks. Sounds efficient until you realize it's basically surge pricing for humans. Busy quarter, great pay. Slow quarter, your salary dips. No stability, no predictability, just constant optimization. For the company, not for you. Now imagine this system scaled globally. AI compares a programmer in New York to one in Bangalore, a designer in London to one in Manila, a writer to a language model. Location becomes irrelevant. Cost becomes everything. Wages don't rise to match living costs. They fall to match the cheapest acceptable alternative. That's the hidden gravity pulling salaries downward. At this point, someone usually says, but skilled workers will always be safe. That used to be true. Now it's conditional. AI doesn't eliminate all skilled jobs. It compresses them. One highly paid expert replaces 5 mid-level professionals. The top survives. The middle gets squeezed, and the bottom disappears. That's not a future prediction. It's already happening. Another irony, our AI doesn't need to fire you to reduce your income. It can just slow your growth. No raises, no promotions, no explanation. You stay employed, but financially frozen. Inflation does the rest. And because nothing dramatic happens, there's no outrage. Just quiet decline. Let's zoom out. What happens to an economy when wages are algorithmically suppressed? People spend less. Debt rises. Risk-taking falls. Innovation slows outside of AI itself. Because when income becomes unstable, people stop experimenting. They cling to whatever security remains, and security becomes a privilege. Here's the real philosophical shift. For centuries, labor was priced through negotiation between humans. Now it's priced through prediction. AI predicts your future output, your likelihood to quit, your replacement cost, your economic ceiling, and it adjusts accordingly. You don't get paid for who you are. You get paid for what the model expects you'll deliver next. That raises an uncomfortable question. If an AI predicts you'll burn out in 2 years, do you deserve a raise today? If it predicts someone else will outperform you at half the cost, why invest in you at all? These aren't moral questions in the system. They're optimization problems. Now, to be fair, AI could also expose unfair pay. It can detect bias, highlight underpayment, force transparency. That version of the future exists, but it requires one thing companies rarely give up willingly: control. Because the same system that could raise wages can just as easily justify lowering them. And guess which option protects profit margins? So where does this leave you? Not powerless, but not comfortable. In a world where AI influences pay, the definition of valuable changes. It's no longer just skill, it's scarcity, it's adaptability. It's the ability to do things that are hard to automate, hard to standardize, hard to replace globally. That's a narrow category, and it keeps shrinking. Here's the quiet truth no one likes to say out loud. AI doesn't need to take your job to take your future income. It just needs to redefine what fair pay means, slowly, rationally, with charts. So the next time you hear someone say, AI will decide salaries objectively, ask yourself, objective for whom? For workers trying to live stable lives? Or for systems designed to extract maximum efficiency at minimum cost? Because those goals are not the same, and they never were. We're entering an era where your paycheck might not be set by a person who understands your life, but by a model that understands probabilities. And probabilities don't care if your rent went up. They care if someone else can do your job for less. So here's the thought I want to leave you with. When AI sets your pay, it won't announce itself. There will be no moment, no headline, no warning, just smaller raises, stricter metrics, more market alignment. And one day you'll look at your salary and wonder when exactly it stopped growing. The scary part isn't that AI might decide what you earn. It's that it already is. And most people are still negotiating with humans, while the real decision is being made somewhere else. If you want to understand how AI is quietly reshaping your income, your job, and your future, subscribe now because the real decisions are being made behind the scenes.